Greetings, internet world. I thought I'd do a 6-month stroke 1,000 mile review of my Triumph Scrambler 1200 SC. I've only done 1,000 miles in 6 months because a lot of that was winter. It's now June. I bought this actually in December, and obviously through winter time there wasn't much opportunity to ride it. Plus I have another ride, and put a little over 1,000, maybe 1,200 on that, and a little over 1,000 on this. So not a horrible start to the season. There's plenty of miles left. Anywho, it's going to be mainly about the Triumph, though I'm going to reference the XR as a comparison. Not a great comparison because these are not the same bikes, obviously, but both fall loosely with italics in the adventure bike category. So the XR has the ergonomics and the styling of an adventure bike, but with 17-inch wheels and the suspension it's got, this is not off-road capable any more than the S1000R or a R1. I mean, you could physically take it off the tarmac, but good luck. Whereas this is being described as akin to a Honda Africa Twin, but without the fairing, because it is pretty much as capable with similar ground clearances, etc., and a 21-inch front wheel and all those fun things. Anywho, so what do I think? So the styling, I'm still absolutely in love with it. I still gaze at it whenever I come into the garage, and I still look at it as I'm walking away whenever I park it up, and it's just beautiful to behold. And I've had a few bikes that people have commented on, a few unusual bikes that people have commented on, but I have never had a bike like this one, where literally people are, every time I park it up in the public, someone comes up to me and they start talking, you know, the older fellas, oh, I used to have a Triumph back in the days, this one, and then, no, it's nothing like it, mate. It's completely new, completely different. I stop at red lights and, you know, young lads are winding the windows down and say, nice bike, mate, and just everywhere people comment on its looks and how it sounds, and so it's a great image bike, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing, but just, yeah, it looks great. Comfort, similar ergonomics to an adventure bike, so very neutral seating position. This flat seat means you can move your bottom backwards and forwards and adjust your position. Compare it, say, to something like this, where you can't. You're kind of stuck where you are. Wider seat. This got an upgraded one, a little bit more plush, but you kind of you are where you are. Whereas this one, you can move around it and change the angle of your legs, which is huge. So that's a big deal. This little windscreen here makes a big difference. It is an unfaired bike, so the buffeting is significant. But let's be real, anything below 75 miles per hour and you can ride this all day long. If you want to go over 75 miles per hour, which of course I never would unless the speed limit said I could, but you're going to need something with more fairing, a taller screen, etc. So if you're looking for a missile that you can cover lots of miles on, you need something more like this, whereas this is a much more relaxed ride. But really, up to 75 is not a problem. It just cruises along very, very nicely. I'm actually a little bit flatter footed on the seat when I come to a stop on this than I am on this. But, and this has been reported on many times before, this is a problem. Catalytic converter sits right behind here. This is the first gen, I guess. Later models, they put the cat back here. But this one is right here, and this gets hot, and your right leg kind of sits here. So when you're moving, honestly, it's not too much of a problem. But when you are at a standstill, particularly in town, in traffic, oh my word, that gets hot. And if you're like me and you like to put your right foot on the rear brake pedal and have your left foot down, you naturally tend to stroke that side of the bike with your leg, and it is an issue. So I see a decat for me in the future, purely for comfort reasons. I know it increases power and weight and all that fun stuff. It can, if you don't do it right, it can cause you problems with warranties. But yeah, that's a problem, which of course Triumph they recognise because they moved it. But what's it like to ride? Fantastic. So the main reason I put this as a comparison is that this is the XR, the BMW S1000XR, is without doubt probably the best, most refined, most sophisticated, definitely, with the most electronic rider aids, and one of, if not the fastest motorcycles I've ever owned. I mean, I've had a lot of fast bikes, R1s and things like that, which obviously, like, ultimately are going to be faster, but this is it is phenomenally easy to ride fast. It's all electronic, so ride-by-wire throttle, 4 different ride modes, lean sensitive, traction control and ABS, electronic stability control that's more intrusive in rain setting, cruise control. It is really, really refined, and it's got a quick shifter up and down. That's great. I didn't really like it at first, I've got to be honest. And it's a great bike. It's taken me, I've done 20,000 miles on this, and I've had it for 4 years. Maybe this is the 5th year. Yeah, this is the 5th year of ownership. And it's taken me almost all that time to get to love it, actually. Because you're almost sanitized from the experience of riding a motorcycle, because it does everything for you. Now, granted, when you are generous with the throttle, it is blisteringly quick, intoxicatingly fun, and it makes a tremendous induction roar that's just a noisy engine. Over about 7,000 revs is just like, whoa. But over 7,000 revs, you are very rapidly, if not instantaneously, in law-breaking territory. So you have to, it's just, every time you ride it with vigor, you are courting trouble with the law, trouble with your health. It's just, but if you want to get across country and have fun when you get to all the twisty roads and go up and down the freeways, fantastic bike. It's just a bit dull, and I can't believe I would say that about a 1000cc sports bike that's dressed up the way it is. It's just, I know all the XR viewers are going to be like, oh my god, this is the most exciting bike, and how you call it dull, and you obviously don't know how to ride it. And I do know how to ride it. I've got some experience and I've got some skill. I'm not the best. I'm not like Cuban Rider or anything like that, if you see him on his channel, but it's just, I don't know, it took me a long time to get to like it. I had a Triumph Tiger 1050 that I traded in for it, and I missed it. For the first couple of years, I actually missed the Tiger. I wish I hadn't traded it, but now I've grown to like it. This, on the other hand, ultimately is slower. I mean, if you look at the spec sheet, this is like 165 brake horsepower and like 85 foot-pounds of torque at maximum. This is as close as makes not much of a difference, about 90 brake horsepower and 90 foot-pounds. So on paper, it's way down on power. The difference is, this takes a little while to wind up. So at below kind of 5,000, it's still quick, but below about 5,000 revs, it just sort of goes, kind of whirs. Then it gets above 7,000, it starts to roar, it starts to kind of pull on your arms a little bit, and it just builds to this crescendo of noise and violence, and time and space start to distort themselves around you, and before you have a chance to really realise what's happening, you're thinking, I need to shut off the gas because now I'm going far too fast. This, on the other hand, the peak torque comes in something ridiculous like 2,300 revs. So it idles at 1,000, 1,100. So you're barely off idle, and you've got maximum torque. And it's this near flat, don't even call it a torque curve, it's a torque table. And it just, instant pull. So at low kind of town speeds, I reckon this is quicker. because it just poof, and you're there instant. But it redlines at about 7,000 revs, so you don't find yourself in trouble. It's kind of hard to explain. It's just very engaging, very fun. That 270-degree crank makes a fantastic noise. The soundtrack is just wonderful. You're just grinning every time you open the throttle. And it just feels great. It's great fun to ride. At first, the 21-inch front wheel was a little bit challenging after being used to 17s, but once you get the hang of it, it handles. I mean, Triumph make bikes that handle. They always do. Every bike they make handles well, and this handles really, really well, considering it's, you know, an on-off-road bike. Really, really good. And the engine is super smooth. Whoop, dropping the phone. It doesn't have a quick shifter, but the gear shifts probably the smoothest I've ever had of a bike where you have to actually do it yourself. It's really, really smooth. A joy to just be engaged with the ride. Very sanitized, you feel distant, very engaged with exactly what's going on with the bike. And yet it still has electronic aids, it's still got traction control, it's still got ABS, it's still got a ride-by-wire throttle. But however they've squared away the mapping, you don't really realise it. You're just having a great old time. Yeah, it's I love riding it. So yeah, those are my kind of initial impression. Oh, I should mention the tyres as well. They get a lot of grief online. These standard Metzlers with their, you know, not aggressive tread pattern. People, oh, it's going to be terrible off road and yada yada yada. I humbly suggest that unless you are going to be doing genuine off-road, and I don't mean gravel tracks, I don't mean, you know, most of what most people do, unless you're going to be going like mud, sand, you know, that really loose surfaces, these are just fine. These are an 80/20 tyre. Check out Big Rock Moto. He's just done a test of the Suzuki DR800, and he's on very similar tyres, and boy, he's riding that thing so fast with standard tyres like this. It's not, if you think it's the tyres, it's not the tyres, it's you. No, unless like I say, unless you are going on a genuine adventure trip where there's going to be a lot of off-road, I wouldn't change the tyres. But on-road, they're great. That's the point I'm getting to. Like on-road, these things, I mean, it goes from side to side so smoothly, very confident on the amount of grip that you have. Really, really great. So, first 1,000 miles, a little over, really impressed. More than I could have hoped, because if I'm honest, I bought it because I thought it looked really cool. I had a different bike. That was at 50,000 miles. It was time to change. I wanted to have a Triumph in the garage, and I'd been looking at these, and I thought I couldn't afford one. And then this one was a trade-in, and I went for the XC because I am more of a road rider. The XE has more upgrades. It's got larger front suspension, things like that. But actually, if you look at the geometry of the rake angle of the front forks, etc., it's not as good on road, and I am a on-road rider for the most part. So this was the better option, despite the fact that the snobs are going to go, oh, it's just the XC model. Okay, whatever. It does great for me. So 1,000 miles in, I'm still loving it. If you're thinking of getting one, don't think too hard. This is a fantastic motorcycle. The build quality is second to none. The sound is intoxicating. You're going to get into conversations with strangers everywhere you go. It is a wonderfully engaging, fun, beautiful, capable motorcycle. That's a really, really good motorcycle, but it doesn't light me up. I don't know. I can't explain it. I can't explain why. It's a great bike. I'm going to keep it for a long time because it's such a good bike, and I got a good deal on that one too. But if I have to pop round town, I always choose this one. If I want to just enjoy riding a bike, I always choose this one. I've got some adventures planned. It's going to be on this one. But if I just need to get across country, or I need to load it up with luggage, or I need to do the commute into work, I tend to choose that one. It's just me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was in some way useful to you. I'll put some comments below about anything else you want to know, because obviously you can look at them and think they're great, but owners who ride them and own them, they're a little bit more honest. So my only gripe is that heat off the exhaust, which is a well-known fact. I knew that before I got it. Everything else is just superb. I have no bad things to say about it at all. So yeah, but drop some comments below and let me know what you think.